So I have a couple. One is regarding being at a higher elevation. So you have less oxygen to breathe. So in theory, that creates reduced breathing anyway. Um, it, do you have any, I mean, it's a big question, who knows? But it's interesting that like all the blue zones, they live at sea level. And maybe that's just for a number of different reasons. But I'm curious if reduced breathing has such an impact on longevity and our health in general, why there isn't more longevity pockets in these really elevated places. Or maybe there are and we just don't know about it.
You said that blue zones are at the sea level or elevated places?
I believe they're almost all at sea level.
Sea level, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which could be for a number of other reasons, like what they have. There's a lot of reasons that they're blue zone, right? Elevation isn't even mentioned. But I guess the question is, I wonder why there's not more longevity pockets in places with so much elevation if reduced breathing is such an impact on your health. Or am I just making an assumption? Because I would assume that being at higher elevation would impact your breathing positively, but maybe that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm. So traditionally, many high elevation areas were known for creating longevity. So people who were born there and lived all their lives in these areas, they were known for long lives. However, all of this changed. And like I live at a high altitude, but probably 99.9% in this area are people who moved here from other areas, not born and raised here. And it changes everything. So in general, you know, if a person's breathing is healthy, then reduced breathing at a high altitude is automatic. That's why I really like doing retreats at a high altitude, because everything regarding breathing becomes emphasized, and you can learn a lot about yourself and about reduced breathing just by being at a high altitude, right? But whether it has a positive impact, high altitude breathing in general, you know, if it's in general, so whether it has a positive impact or negative impact, it depends how a person breathes, right? So mouth breathing and heavy breathing is the tendency to breathe through the mouth and to breathe heavily is stronger at a high altitude, because breathing is more difficult, right? So when people,
yeah, it can either be really good for you or really bad for you, depending on
like diving, same thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's extreme. You're absolutely right that it's whether quite bad or quite good. Just today, I received an email from kind of a friend of mine, a person, not a close friend, but a friend who lived in Creston at the elevation between 8,000 and 9,000 feet for maybe 25 years. And she said that she moved to a low elevation now because her oxygen level is low in Creston, right? And I wrote to her, I said, you can actually correct it by applying the Buteyko method. You don't need to move to a low elevation. But people experience a low level of oxygenation at a high altitude as well as at a sea level.